Good morning. I'm David Heimseld. I'm going to be your instructor for this course in American history in the 1960s and 70s. I'm going to give you a brief overview of my background and then of the course itself. My career was not as a professional historian, but as a government lawyer and member of the professional staff advising the U.S. Congress. I've had a lifelong interest in history and biography, and after my retirement for the Congress, I decided to go further with this and not only read and take classes, but try and put together classes myself. So in the past 5 years, I've put together courses in modern history for Encore Learning and for Ollie in Fairfax. My course will be basically a lecture course, but I'll allow 10 minutes or so at the end for questions and comments. For the course itself, the 60s and 70s were a very turbulent period, major change in public attitude in the beginning and the end of this period. At the start of the period, America was very confident and optimistic. There was a broad consensus on political and cultural values. There was a strong and growing economy. The gains from the growing economy were widely shared. There was much less income inequality than there is today. The attitude of the public, the confidence and optimism were symbolized by the election of the youthful and optimistic John F. Kennedy in 1960. During the next 20 years, the consensus and optimism of the 50s were shattered by a series of traumatic events, which will be the main subject of this course. Just a brief laundry list: assassination of John and Robert Kennedy, Vietnam, Watergate, battles over civil rights, culture wars over women's rights, abortion in the schools, and then in the late 1970s, economic problems of inflation, unemployment, and an energy crisis. By the end of the 70s, the majority of the country was disillusioned with big government and permissive morality, and there was a major change in direction with the election of a strong economic and social conservative, Ronald Reagan. I've really enjoyed putting this class together. Like many of you, I lived through the 60s and 70s, and now looking at it again 50 years later, I have a very different perspective on what was important and what actually happened. Many of you have also lived through this decade, and I'm particularly interested in not only sharing my views with you, but learning from you what your perceptions and attitudes are. Thank you very much, and I hope many of you will be joining me in this exploration.